Thank you for connecting to GameChat.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? Welcome back to Game Chat, episode 3. This is a cool new take on the episode, or on Game Chat, rather. This is Game Chat Co-op with my main man, Peter. Um, why not say hi? Let's start off with a hi.
Hey everybody, how you doing?
So, this is like couch co-op sort of deal. It's a very, very long couch because Peter's coming at us from Europe. Where you at, Peter?
Currently in Greece.
Yeah. So very, very long distance couch co-op.
It's about a
Uh,
5,000-mile couch.
it's about a 5,000 mile couch. We're playing some awesome games, and it's gonna be a really cool episode. We're gonna take a shorter sort of approach to this episode, not have long form sort of ideas, but just short little topics. So the first topic that we're gonna cover is sound in games and what makes sound so important in them. So usually when I go and I play a game, I look at the soundtrack. Like let's take this game for example, God of War. You've played God of War, right?
Of course.
Yeah. So that's a game exclusive to the PS4, and I mean it has an incredible soundtrack. Um, and the thing is that like when you remove that soundtrack, you don't get rid of like the just generic sort of leaves and things in the environment. If you keep those sounds in and you just remove the soundtrack, you lose a lot of the game.
You lose a lot of the intensity.
Yeah. It creates another level to the environment. And I just want to explore how we interact with sound and why sound is so important in gaming. Why do you think that? Why do you think sound is so integral to the experience? Because, there's sound like there's the voice audio, like the
hmm
voice actors are, talking. And
hmm
then there's the environmental sound, so like you stepping in leaves or, whatever, city sounds, but the soundtrack adds another level to that. And why how why would you say that it does?
Well, I personally think because I'm thinking more of the soundtrack because the soundtrack adds more intensity to the game, as you were talking about with God of War. In God of War, when you're slashing and you're asking your child to shoot the bow and arrow and you're getting to that end goal, you hear the music. Once you hear the music pump up and you know you're about to enter a fight, you just feel better. And that creates a better
Yeah.
atmosphere throughout the game.
Yeah. And it comes down to, I mean, you know how why people enjoy like the bass, right? Because like
hmm
it kind of follows the thumping of the heart too. And maybe
The
that's
thumping of the
that's
heart.
that's like a an added bonus to that sort of
hmm
I like the thing about music. It follows like rhythms that we, naturally follow. Like
Definitely.
so in God of War, the soundtrack is really based. So God of War, for those of you that don't know, is it's based on Nordic mythology, and a lot of the songs that are created, a lot of the music for in the soundtrack is from like Finland and stuff like that, from Iceland. I think they recorded a lot of it in Iceland.
Which is amazing, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, with like a live chorus, an
Orchestra.
orchestra. Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's
it's
like
so
a
cool.
huge thing, and it places another level, like a mystical level, around what is an already very pretty game, very very good looking graphics, and very good looking soundscape between the environment and the voice acting.
Oh
So
yeah, because like I said, once you hear that bass, once you because your heart thumps, when the bass is more intense, your heart's more intense, and then you just feel good because sometimes the music will catch up, and as you're slashing, the bass might add up to the slashes, and everything will just flow so seamlessly. But when in God of War, sometimes when you travel on a little boat, and on that boat, sometimes you'll hear some calming music. Sometimes the music will drown out, so the characters can do some amazing voice acting. It's just everything just fits. Everything's just like a puzzle piece when you make a video game.
yeah, and it's almost as if the developers are using the music like to tell you or to
hmm
show you what they want you to feel in that moment. So like
Definitely.
when you're hacking and slashing, like you said, it's like very intense, boom, 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 and like the the axe is hitting the enemies as like the beat drops and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But, in other situations where it's supposed to be more calm, it has more calming music, so it adds to the story. It's
Or sometimes
the
no music at all.
developer. Yeah, yeah. Oh, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Or when the music completely drops, and then you're like, you know, kind of lost.
Yeah, you're like, did
Um,
I turn off my game volume?
yeah, yeah, and like nobody's talking, the environment's completely
Yeah,
quiet. It's like, oh
super
damn, here
confused.
it shut off, force closed
Like,
the app.
darn it.
um, but yeah, the main thing is maybe that's what makes music so important
Hmm.
in gaming because the developer has a chance to because now a lot of the games are just free form, like do what you want, go where you want to
Hmm.
go. Maybe
Complete it this
music is
way.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So they give you all these mechanics that you could jump here, go there, run
Hmm.
there.
Definitely.
Um, and then, a bunch of different like free flowing stories. So you can play whatever you want. But with music, it helps the developers say, this is what I want you to feel in
Definitely,
this
yes.
moment. And kind of like in Destiny, where Destiny's a very free flowing game. You could go do whatever you want. You can go fight,
Yeah, right out the gate.
yeah, yeah. You go multiplayer, you can do the story, you can do whatever. Um, but say when you're using your super, which is your super powered ability in the game, it kind of pumps up the music. Or where there's an intense moment, it pumps up the music. So
Or
you
when you're
feel
doing
like,
those raids too, where
yeah,
we touched on
exactly.
it a couple episodes ago, where it's the more complex levels. Once the main villain of the raid comes out, the music pumps up. You and your team get really excited. I remember when we were doing it and on Destiny One, and we made it to the very end, and there's this boss named Oryx, which was this super huge being. He came out. I just remember all of us screaming in the party, "Oh my God, let's do this!" Oh,
Yeah,
we were all screaming, and we were super excited. And we took him down immediately.
yeah, yeah. And the music just helped in that. It helped to
Definitely.
make it sort of mystical because sure
100%.
you have the game like screaming in your ear, with like,
You have the game screaming, you have
monsters
your
and stuff
party
like that.
screaming.
Yeah, you have your party screaming, but then the music is always there in the background saying,
Hmm.
let's take this story. This is the story that's going to happen here, and this is what we're going to talk about, and this is what we want you to feel.
Hmm. I feel like
And
music's kind of like the underdog of like games because sometimes they'll talk
yeah,
about, oh my God, the action's really good, or have you seen this voice acting, or have you seen the world? But
yeah,
I haven't seen a lot of reviewers. I could be wrong, but I haven't seen a lot of reviewers talk about the music and how it, like we said, how it kind of like everything fits into one puzzle piece.
yeah, and it just elevates the whole experience.
Hmm.
And it just music generally too. I mean, you could think about soundtrack to a movie, how it amplifies the whole scene. And like music is generally always playing in the back.
Hmm.
Because you notice like very drastically when the music's off.
Hmm. That's how I
And
used
that
to play games. When I got lost, I would just listen for the music. I'm like, come on, give me some intense music. Give me some
yeah,
intense music that'll go the
yeah.
wrong way.
Exactly, yeah. It's like, are the enemies over here? Is this where
No,
I'm
no,
supposed to be
no,
going?
wrong way. Turn around.
And the other thing that we wanted to touch on, I think, when we're talking about music, is actually listening to your own music during games.
Oh yeah.
Like, so, like the personal level that can even go into playing these games. So, of course, we
Hmm.
said that the developers can use music to kind of direct what the gamer should feel. But in games say like Destiny, how we were saying, it's like a kind of a grindy game, so you can kind of go at your
Hmm.
own pace. You don't have to pay attention to the story at all. You could just be, searching for guns and stuff like that, shooting enemies, stuff like that. Just
Hmm.
generic stuff that you don't
Yeah.
really need a background music or any voice
Yeah.
recording or anything, acting.
Or plus, if
And
you're a veteran player and you've heard the song about 50,000 times, sometimes it's good to change it up.
that's a big thing too. Yeah. So now, like at least on PlayStation and a lot of other consoles, you can use Spotify or other music apps, and you could have the audio play over your
In the
game.
game.
Yeah. So that's another cool aspect to it, where I'm gonna personalize my experience even so far as go to play my favorite like Post Malone song over my Destiny little 1 hour Destiny playtime. And that adds
I
to a
I know
personal
what I
level.
do. I know what I do mainly is I know when we play a lot of Rainbow Six Siege, I have a lot of Post Malone going on in the background, who's one of my all-time favorite artists. And every time like I hear you making a call out, I immediately go to my quick menu and I keep pausing the music. So every time we play Siege, I hear like 3 second intervals of the song. And
Yeah.
then when I know we're gonna win, I just play the song and I just sit in the corner and pop up my
Yeah.
camera.
Yeah, and like in those multiplayer games where you're playing with your squad, I mean, you don't really need to hear the music in
No.
the game. I mean, unless you're being really, really tactical and you want to hear every footstep and stuff
Hmm.
like that. But in terms of the soundtrack, you don't really, it doesn't really add much more to the experience because that's a more personal experience, especially if you're playing with friends and stuff like that. You want to personalize the whole thing.
Hmm. Because when you
Um,
buy the game, that's you're buying, like I believe we touched on this in episode 1, you're buying the experience. So you're buying the
Exactly.
experience of loading up the game, going with friends, going on Spotify, listening to Post Malone, Charlie Puth, Young
Yeah.
Thug, listening to whoever is your favorite artist or artists, and just having an
Uh-huh.
amazing time. And that's just basically what gaming is mainly about, having a good time.
Yeah. And that's a big thing. I mean, that idea, I think it was in the first episode that you said this, where when you buy the game, you're buying an experience, and the game is an experience in and of itself. I mean,
Yeah.
everything like different angle that we try to like touch on, whether it was like in the second episode where we touched on like the people playing, now with the sounds and stuff like that,
Hmm.
it's all revolving around the experience that you're having within the game, and that's the big picture. Um, what are you playing? How are you playing? With who are you playing? And things like that that craft an experience that you can remember that lasts in
Hmm.
memory.
I know
Uh,
Spider-Man is a very good game to listen to Spotify with because as you're swinging, you just feel good, like listening to your own music. It's kind of like Spider-Man has his own headphones in, and he's kind of like
yeah,
listening to your music.
yeah, and like that's a unique thing. I mean, sure, a lot of people probably have done that, but to you, like Spider-Man listening to Post Malone, that's a unique thing that you have,
Yeah,
and jumping through the city and saying like, "Oh, I'm going to go take down this bad guy." That's a unique experience to
to the beat
you.
of a different song.
To the beat of a different song, to the beat that's like, the developers would have never thought of.
Hmm.
That's an experience unique to you, so crafting your own soundtrack is also a very cool thing too, crafting your own background to games and stuff like that, so it's enjoyable to see things like that, like Spotify being
Hmm.
available on the PS Store to do things like that, to
And the thing
overlay
that's
in
kind of
games.
cool, and the thing that's kind of cool too is, I know some game developers what they do is I believe that they've done it for I've seen it so far at least for God of War, Mortal Kombat 11, I believe for Spider-Man also, and a bunch of other
Uh-huh.
games. They've actually added the soundtrack to Spotify. And when you're
Oh,
playing that
yeah.
game, for example, like Spider-Man, like the PS4 will obviously detect you're playing Spider-Man. And when you load up Spotify in your little dashboard quick menu, it'll give you the Spider-Man soundtrack first before anything.
Ah, that's really cool, and, like, can we just say the Spider-Man soundtrack is just
Fantastic.
amazing. Yeah, I mean, when you're
Fantastic.
jumping through the city and it knows exactly when you jump off a building, you
Hmm.
throw that
You hear
first
like
web out,
you hear the high pitched music, and you
yeah, and
just
it
feel
just
like you're
builds
Spider
up.
Man.
Yeah. Yeah, you just feel like you're Spider-Man, and
Hmm.
that's the whole thing.
I
It's
know
like,
Batman did that too.
yeah, yeah, and Batman did a great job when when you're jumping off the building or
Hmm.
when you're being
Jumping up
shot
when
out
you're
of
gliding off
the
the building, yeah,
yeah, so
gliding off the building, summoning the Batmobile. I
summoning the
remember
Batmobile, exactly.
the first scene in Arkham Knight was Batman saying, "I'm evening the odds," and then you press the button
Uh-huh.
to jump the Batmobile, and then I hear just like this dark, gritty music, and you just feel like you're Batman because he just jumps straight into the Batmobile, and the music kicks up, and you start up
Yeah,
into a tank.
yeah, and you're just like, "Oh, man, this is so awesome,"
Yeah,
and
you're like, oh my god.
when if you saw that like that whole idea, the whole scene without the
Hmm.
music, sure, it'd be cool,
It
but
wouldn't be
with
the
the
same.
music, yeah, but it wouldn't be the same. Yeah, yeah.
Hmm. You don't get that
That's
same gritty intensity as you would with the game like volume off.
yeah, yeah. And it's the mysticism, I think, that's being
Hmm.
created, like the whole
Oh yeah,
thing, like the
because
whole
they want to
wow
create the whole
factor,
atmosphere.
the atmosphere, exactly.
Yeah,
And that's what I think the game developers are trying to nail, especially using music to nail the atmosphere so you can create
that's the missing puzzle
experiences.
piece of all games.
Yeah. I mean, you could really see the games that are really good have a good atmosphere. A
Hmm.
good whether it's sure, God of War is just a very atmospheric game, or things like Minecraft where sure it's just a bunch of blocks, but there's an atmosphere there. There's a feeling of
The
creativity
soundtrack's
there.
just super peaceful.
Yeah. Yeah, peaceful, creative, things like that. So soundtracks are super important in games,
Oh yeah,
and
definitely.
it's interesting to see them develop. It's interesting to see how they function within the game and how we look to them to guide us in the emotions of gaming
Yeah,
during the game.
especially when you're thinking about like older games, like in an arcade machine, how you just heard a bunch of 8-bit music, and even that 8-bit music was something that everyone remembers. Especially like if you load up Pac-Man, you hear that da na 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 na, or
Yeah,
Mario for I think I accidentally
yeah,
did the Mario theme, same thing.
yeah.
But
Da, 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 da,
yeah,
da, da,
you
da.
hear the
Yeah,
Mario theme in 8-bit, and you just know because you kind of feel like you see obviously you're jumping on the Goombas and you're doing everything and
yeah,
you feel good even though it's just 8-bit music or if it's like music from back then when arcades were a thing, you just feel good no matter what.
yeah. And you don't even have to think about like or see a screen.
Hmm.
You just see the hear the music, and it's instantly a bunch of emotions flow through you. Like, oh Mario, oh my youth, things like that.
Hmm. Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man, Galaga, like just seeing all that, like music just helps you
Doom,
remember better. Doom has an amazing soundtrack,
yeah.
even the latest one.
Yeah, and I think, that was my attempt at trying to have a nice segue, uh, because, in our news today, um, we have, Doom 1, 2, and 3, being remastered for the Switch. So,
Which
I
is
say we
pretty awesome actually.
it's pretty awesome, yeah. So I'd say
Fantastic.
we get into the news a little bit, talk about a
Let's do
few
it.
stories. Alright, and we're back with the news. So, on today's in like a little
Plate.
news segment. On today's plate of news, we've got Doom 1, 2, and 3 on the Switch. Doom 1,
Which is
2, and 3
fantastic.
remastered, which is really cool. And especially on the Nintendo Switch, which you can take
On the
anywhere.
Switch. That's
Yeah,
so
it's
cool.
and the Switch is now getting a Switch Lite, which is another
Which is a little
new
cheaper.
console, a little cheaper. It doesn't like come apart like the Switch does, but another really cool device, I think, which
Definitely.
is
It looks
perfect
really
for
cool.
taking around. It's like the PSP was, but it's being supported with really cool games, especially now in like, a couple years into his life cycle.
Oh
So
yeah.
you've got a whole bunch of like a good backlog of games for the Switch between Zelda, Mario, and all that stuff. But today we're talking about Doom.
I wonder if they have because I know Doom 1, 2, and 3, like we were just saying when we got remastered. I wonder if they have Doom 3, the BFG edition. And for
Uh-huh.
people I think who might not know, Doom BFG stands for Big Effing Gun, is like one of the most overpowered. It's actually the correct pronunciation. It's one of the best guns in Doom. And I think they added
Mhm.
that edition as kind of like a kind of like a game of the year edition, how people have, but just with its own little twist. And I hope they have any like extra guns or DLC that may come with it, but I'm not too sure.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it does because it says it's the remastered edition, so maybe that they'll
Yes,
include everything on the in the package, which would be really
this is
cool.
this is making me want to buy a Switch. To be completely
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah. And the cool thing is the Switch is like a port like, it would be nice if Doom came out on the PS4 and Xbox, but there's a different sort of vibe when it's, like, right in front of your eyes. And
Yeah, especially on a Switch, which is super like accessible. Like once you
yeah,
have it, like you could plug it up to your TV. You could obviously have it handheld. So while you're playing on like the train, while you're playing as a passenger in a car, on a road trip,
exactly.
whatever it is, it's right in front of you, and you're like, oh my god. Especially for people who have played Doom originally before it was remastered, they
Yeah.
get to relive those memories.
Yeah, and you could just take it anywhere now. You could
Yeah,
play Doom and, like, live in your world.
that's
You could
what's
take it
so crazy.
on a road trip and stuff like that. So, it's a
So
really
crazy.
cool and I think Doom, like the new one, like the 2016 Doom, that's also on the Switch
So
now,
cool.
right? Yeah.
So
So,
cool.
like, you're getting all the Doom that you want on the Switch right now.
Which is actually I might want to buy a Switch after this recording. To be completely honest,
Yeah, I know.
think
It's
they do
like and it
international shipping.
they probably do. You're just gonna have to go
Pay a
online,
little more.
pay a little bit more.
Worth.
Worth, yeah. I mean, you can actually now. You could go ahead and pre-order the Switch Lite. I think it's available now for pre-order. I think it's shipping in September. So, yep,
Awesome.
look out for that, everyone. It's like
Definitely gonna have to look into it.
Yeah, and the cool thing about that is it just coming in awesome, like, cool colors. It's a little bit smaller than the Switch, so it's a
It's kind
lot
of
more
like
portable.
it's kind of like when the iPhone had, I believe, what was it? They had a string of iPhones where it was just like a kind of like a it was kind of like a rainbow color.
Oh,
How
yeah.
iPhones are normally like kind of
Uh,
like gray or like white
it
or
was it
rose
was a
gold.
C?
Yeah,
iPhone
the X, yeah, iPhone 5C, where it was like red, blue,
5C, yeah,
yellow. I think it was like the
yeah,
5C was like red, blue, yellow, green,
and
pink.
that's just awesome too. I mean, we're talking about gaming experience and stuff like that, like, I want, like, the whole thing to be an experience, not only the game, just, like, the physical thing that I'm holding.
Yeah,
I wanna I wanna have an awesome blue console because I love the color
hmm
blue or something like that, or a pink
yeah, that's
console, and
awesome.
yeah.
It's like when the DSs did that when Pokemon Diamond and Pearl came out. How you can buy the DS with them with the two Pokemon from the games,
Yeah,
or how you can buy like different different colors of like the 3DS XL or
yeah,
like the 2DS XL or something like that, which is so cool because it's like
yeah.
you want to customize it your way.
And that's the cool thing too, I think, when you have a handheld console, you wanna customize it more than
Hmm.
you would, like, a stationary one. So take a like a, PS4 and Xbox One.
You can buy like those
Like,
sleeves.
yeah, I mean, you can do that, or, like, do you really care, like, what color it is? Because it's just gonna be sitting under your TV, you know?
Hmm.
I mean, you may close it up in, like, some sort of TV case, and you may not even see it. It's like a black or white console just sitting there. But when you have something that you're holding in your hand, it's a little bit more personal. So, like, I'm gonna go and play Doom on my awesome red console. So everybody could,
Yeah,
you just show your personality with that.
yeah. Everyone's like, "Oh, I'm playing." Everyone's like, "Oh, what are you doing?" It's like, "Oh, like you were saying, I'm playing Doom on my super cool red Nintendo Switch Lite," which
Yeah.
is actually kind of fitting for Doom because you're in hell and you're through fire, which is kind of fitting actually.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I think that's the cool thing about the Switch Lite, and, I mean,
Super
just
dope.
generally the Switch offering so many cool games. I mean, it's getting new games too, but, like, the backlog of just remasters and stuff like
I
that
feel
is
like the
awesome.
remasters are really outweighing the new games. Like I believe they announced like Breath of the Wild 2, but
Yeah,
people were super excited about that. But the second they announced Doom, like Breath of the Wild, it's like they kind of like swept it under. They're like, hold up, let's
yeah.
focus on Doom first.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they announced all these games, so, I mean, they're coming, like,
Hmm.
2020 now, but, you know, people want things sooner than
Yeah, people want things
2020,
now.
so yeah, so I think
People
they're
want Doom 1, 2, and 3 next month.
exactly. So, like, the remasters are adding, um, just games to the Switch, just some sort of, like, something to play, and I think that in the beginning, too, that was hard because when I first got my Switch, I got a Switch, I think, like, a month after it came out, or a couple months after it came out,
Hmm.
and sure, there was Breath of the Wild, which was an awesome game. I'm sad to say that I never finished it. And then there was, like, Splatoon and Mario Odyssey and stuff like that were slowly coming out, but generally it was slow. Like, in the 6 months that I had the Switch or something like that, those 3 games came out, and I had a couple of other, like, Stardew Valley, a couple of smaller
Stardew
games.
Valley is also pretty good.
Yeah, it's a cool game, but, like,
Keeps you busy.
it keeps you busy, but you kinda want, like, those big budget games, like, those awesome
Like
games, and
Doom.
yeah, and I think in the beginning, that's what kinda demoralized me. I can't think of a better word, but then I just kinda got rid of it. I just thought, there's nothing really here to play on the
Yeah,
Switch.
yeah. If there's and plus that's also a good point because if there were like the three popular games, which was Splatoon, Super Mario Odyssey, which is basically Mario Pokemon, um, and um, and Breath of the Wild, if those only three games are available, once you like complete them or once you play them to its max, the Switch isn't gonna have a good shelf life. So now, after seeing all these games come out or are about to
Yeah.
come out, people want to buy the Switch. It's almost kind of like it kind of seems like a marketing tactic, but I'm kind of not too sure about it.
Yeah, I mean, in a sense, it is now. I mean, they're
Hmm.
releasing, like, say for, like, the new game that's coming out, Pokemon, Sword and Shield, right?
Nice.
It's coming out in October, and, the Switch Lite is coming out in September, and there's already announced, I think, a Switch Lite Pokemon Sword and Shield edition.
My God.
So, like, they're just pushing consoles with the games,
Hmm.
and I think I mean, that's just a general tactic, Sony, Microsoft do it with the PlayStation and the Xbox,
Sony did it with the PSP too for the God of War game that came out. I believe it was called Chains of Olympus.
Yeah.
There was a God of War game where there was a God of War like PSP where it was all in red, which was so cool. I remember I have it. It's so
Yeah.
cool. And then they gave you a sticker of it was a cutscene where like Kratos is obviously like doing his thing and being super brutal. And I remember I
Mhm.
stuck it onto the back of my PSP, and that's just kind of like, and that was kind of like, Peter's own thing. Like, oh my God, Peter's got like a God of War PSP. He's playing God of War. He's
Yeah.
playing all these emulators he installed onto his PSP because that's kind of like his thing.
Yeah. And like
And it's
that
so
that's
cool too.
that adds to it. Yeah, yeah. It adds to the experience again. And like the thing that with the PSP, it wasn't supported. And it's
No.
not now it's nice to see that the Switch is. And the Switch is
Hmm.
kind of like I'm not going to say the spiritual successor because Nintendo has DSs and stuff like that, but it
And more things
probably
to
got
come
a
on top
lot
of
of
that.
yeah, yeah, it got a lot of influence from the PSP. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
very similar design and form factor and stuff like that. But it's being supported with games, and especially now, getting the Switch again after I sold it, you could see an expansive
It's
store,
got a bigger
uh,
library.
a huge library of games. Not all of them are good. There's a lot of just really bad games on there, like
Like
49
a lot
cent
of
games that are just
yeah,
like
like a lot of third party.
garbage. Yeah, yeah. But there are a lot of really good games and a lot of really good games coming. So that
Hmm.
makes me very, hopeful for the future of the Switch.
Especially
And
because they're releasing the light, and if the Switch obviously isn't doing so good, nobody's gonna buy the light.
exactly. And now with the light coming, you'll add another huge audience of people to play these games. So you have
Hmm.
the Nintendo Switch online, so you can play multiplayer, and lowering the price by $100 to 199, you get a whole influx of new people wanting to play
Hmm.
games like Splatoon and Pokemon and stuff like that,
Yeah,
wanting
and
to play
plus
games like Doom.
it makes it
Uh,
all like super affordable too. Like it might, $200 is obviously a lot of money, but by lowering the price, you kind of like can get more people involved into the Switch because how much was the Switch? Like $400, almost like a console,
I think it was 299 overall.
299. So
Yeah,
just by dropping the price, like even like we are talking about $100 or $200, you're giving more accessibility to others
yeah.
to
Because
join and get in there.
yeah, yeah, because like the Switch is 299, but then you got to buy games for it.
Yeah, which adds on to the price tag.
Exactly. So, say a $60 game, you buy a couple games, and you're already you're near $500.
Exactly. So with the light, you might be saving like we were talking about $100 or $200, which is actually very and super incredible that
Yeah.
Nintendo's able to do that.
So you drop it by $100. I mean, you're getting a really cool console. It's more handheld. I mean, it loses the like throwing it on the TV and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But you get a cool console you can throw in your bag and you can play it wherever you want.
Plus, you get really cool games.
You get really cool games. You get support from Nintendo. You're going to get the Nintendo Online, which granted, it's not the best thing, but it's got a cool backlog of old NES games.
Still runs,
Now, yeah, yeah, and now you're getting Doom 1, 2, and 3 on the Switch.
which is that's still like I know I've said like that's amazing, but that's still like very amazing because I am a Doom fan because I did
Yeah,
play the 2016 one. I believe what is it, the 2016 one? And
yeah,
then
yeah.
I'm losing my years. The 2016
The
one, and
2016 one, yeah,
then
the
yeah,
new one
and
that
then
came out.
I did emulate Doom 1 and 2, but I did not play Doom 3.
Yeah. So imagine, like, you get your Switch Lite, and now you're just chilling. Like, you're at university, you're chilling at your library, you're studying, and now you're just tired. Bring out your Switch Lite. I saw
Bring out your
people
Switch
doing
Lite,
that.
play a little bit. Did you
Yeah,
actually?
I did. I did. I was in the student center, and like where they sell like
Hmm.
near the coffee bar, and I was like just chugging along on my computer working, and and this guy, oh bless you,
Thank you.
this guy who just brought he was like working, he had a whole bunch of papers on his thing. It looked like he was working on like huge documents,
Busted
and
out
he
a
just
Nintendo Switch.
yeah, he has his backpack to his right side. He just reaches down into the backpack. He doesn't even stare at the backpack, and he just
He just knows where it
pulls.
is.
Yeah, he just knows where it is. He's like looking straight ahead. He pulls out the switch. He pulls out the controllers. He pulls out headphones. He pulls out like this switch dock. He pulls out a power bank,
My
and he's
God,
like
all
ready to
without looking
go.
in his backpack.
Yeah. He sets it all up in front. He's just like, I don't. He was playing Legend of Zelda at the time. It
Oh,
was like
okay.
when, like a couple months after the Switch originally came out, and he was like chugging along at the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild,
I
and I was like, you know
remember,
what? That's awesome. That's awesome.
yeah, because he's
You
super bored, and what can you do? Go for it. Bust
yeah.
out the Switch, have some
I mean,
fun.
sure, you're bored, but you're also like, you're tired of like you're mentally drained, at school and stuff like that.
You know,
And
school's
in
got you
that instant,
down.
you don't have to go home, right? You don't have to go home. You don't
Yep.
have to go to your dorm. You just have it right there in front of you. You play a little bit. You don't break up your workflow too much, and then you go
Pick up
right
your
back to studying.
yeah. It's kind of like pick up your head, chief. The Nintendo Switch is waiting for you.
Exactly. I got you, Chief. Yeah.
Yeah. There was one time where when the Switch came out, Mario Kart was so big
Oh
on the
yeah.
Switch. And my friend, I remember my friend, he had a black case, and it was the Switch case because he also bought
Yeah.
a Nintendo Switch case on top of that. And he
Uh-huh.
comes into the library, and the librarians were super like strict about, like, don't
Uh-huh.
make noise, don't do this, don't do that, don't do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And my friend sits in front of me, goes, Peter, you want to play Mario Kart? And I remember I forgot to do homework for the class that was the next period,
Yeah.
and I was, I finished it, super fast because it was material that we've already done. It was just kind of like a review, it was like a study guide. And then I'm like, all right, cool. And he gave me a controller, and we just started playing Mario Kart in the middle of a library, which was super packed.
Yeah. And isn't that awesome? Like that's
That's
just a
so
cool
cool.
thing about the Switch. So I know we've kind of got off topic with like the news, but it's just a cool idea. So if you have gotten a Switch, it's recommended. There are a lot of games now for everybody. Um, it was like it's a combination of everybody and everyone.
You got it.
Every so
It's an
so
official
yeah.
coin phrase.
It's yeah. Out of 5 poppy peppers, the Switch gets a 4.5.
Yes.
For
I
4.5
would
out of
also
poppy
give it the
peppers.
same rating.
Yeah. So you heard it here. 4.5 out of 5 peppers for the Switch. Doom hasn't come out yet, so we're not giving it an
Super
official
hopeful.
rating, but we're super hopeful the poppy pepper score
Super
is really
hopeful on
high.
those graphics. Those
Exactly.
graphics mean everything to Doom.
Yeah, just like a nice HD bump.
Definitely.
Yeah. But now we're going to talk a little bit about the competition, namely Sony, because the
Oh,
PS4 just shipped
do it to
100
him.
million consoles.
Yes. That's
A
awesome.
100 million consoles, and I think that puts it in line with the PS2.
Yes.
Yeah, the PS2 is, like, really close, or I think the PS2 maybe
Hmm.
just a tad ahead. I think
Yeah.
it's definitely over 100 million. I'm not sure how much over.
Yeah. I was reading up on that story too, and it said in the first fiscal quarter of 2019, Sony sold an additional 3.1 million units,
Sold?
which
Yeah.
is pretty crazy.
Wow. Hey, just imagine
Yeah.
100 million. I'm sorry about that. That was my front door. If it caught on the mic. But, back on topic. Um, Imagine 100 million consoles in the world. 100 million people owning a PS4.
And all of them are PlayStations.
Yeah, yeah. All not even PlayStation, they're PS4s, like, they're this new model that just came out, I mean, no, it just came out. It was 6 years ago, but in 6 years, they've sold
They managed
100
to do all
million
that.
consoles. It's just insane, and then you just think about the amount of people that are, like, doing PS Plus. I mean, it's not a
PS.
staggering amount. It's probably a
Hmm.
very low percentage of those people, but it's still
But still, those
insane.
very low, yeah, the very low percentage can still bring in a bunch of money for Sony,
Yeah.
which
I mean,
means
you
that
just
they
you just
could,
put
pay more companies to do the PS4 exclusives,
yeah.
make better consoles because like we said, I believe we talked about it in episode one too, because we had a lot of good ideas from that episode
Yeah, we
where
did.
where how I was saying when you buy a game, you invest in a company. It's not just a game. When you buy anything, realistically, you're investing in
Yeah.
a company to do better and make better things. So when you're
Yeah.
buying that PS4, when you're buying that PS4 Pro, that PlayStation Plus, you're giving Sony, I guess, more doors to open to
Yeah.
make the company better and
Mhm.
just do right by the people that buy their stuff.
Exactly. You pay that $60 a year for the PS4, but you
Sometimes
expect
it's
them
on
to
sale
keep sometimes it's on sale, but just generally $60.
and it comes in clutch.
It does. You get the free games, so you get rewarded for it, I guess. But then
Hmm.
you expect Sony to push the exclusives because they have an awesome number of exclusives. and to keep up the servers for multiplayer games and protect you, which is a big thing online and stuff like that. So it's cool. It's really awesome that Sony's been able to do this 100 million consoles, because before the console came out in 2011, 2012, around that time, they were saying that consoles are done now. Consoles are like the past, you know, it's PC and it's cloud gaming and stuff like that.
And then
And
once the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One started getting up a little steam and a little bit of attention in the gaming community, and then, you know, the quote unquote console wars, quote unquote,
yeah,
started like happening again.
we're very
Um,
neutral. We're Switzerland in the console wars.
Basically. Um, everything just changed. I remember South Park made like a Black Friday episode, 2 episodes about it, about the console
Yeah.
wars and how funny it was. Like half the kids went with PS4, half the kids went with Xbox, and it was so
Uh-huh.
funny how they were like, oh, we got more exclusives. Oh, but we can watch Netflix while listening to games. You know, it's like all this stuff
Yeah.
they're trying to convince all the other kids, and it's just
Yeah.
so funny because at one point the kids who sided with Sony went to Sony headquarters and
Uh-huh.
had the CEO come into the episode and like give like his sales pitch. It was super funny and really entertaining because it's all
Yeah.
satire with South Park, and it
Yeah.
was and it's just crazy too that people are saying consoles are a thing of the past, and now seeing Sony hitting 100
Yeah.
million, was it 100 million units? That's
A hun-
insane.
100 million units, yeah. 100 million consoles, and now you see like those 100 million consoles. I mean, it's not 100 million people, but a lot of people that have bought those consoles.
hmm Even
And
if it's
like,
people like how you were saying, sometimes maybe they sold their PlayStation 4 and
yeah.
then they see all these games, and it's kind of like you with the Switch, how you sold the Switch because maybe there wasn't a lot of games, and then you
Yeah.
bought the Switch again. So it's probably people who recently like maybe sold their PlayStation 4, traded it into GameStop,
Yeah.
and then bought it again.
And maybe now too, because like, you know, it's getting near the end of the life cycle, because we see the PS5
PS5.
is probably most likely coming. Microsoft announced the Project Scarlet.
Scorpio?
Scarlet. I think
Is it
Scorpio was
Scarlet?
the
Scorpio. I think
Scarlet
Scorpio is
was
the Xbox One.
Scorpio. I think Scorpio was the Xbox One X.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, you're right.
I think
You're
it's
right. You're
Project
right.
Scarlet, the new one,
Yes.
which the Xbox, I don't know, 2, let's say.
The Xbox Two.
The Xbox is it
It went
is it
from
the Xbox
360 to
One?
1 to 2.
Yeah, 360. I don't know. The names is not, you know, the next
The names
Xbox.
aren't important.
The name isn't important. It's the next Xbox, and those are going to be consoles, like under
hmm
the TV consoles, and in
I'd
an
like to
era
see
now.
those. I'd like to see those reporters who said consoles are basically dead, seeing all these
Yeah.
sales go up and seeing all the new consoles come out, and like, can we delete this post?
Yeah, but now like they're not dead, but they're changing, because we see cloud-based gaming. We see the what's it, Stadia, Google
Stadia,
Stadia.
Stadia. I got a lot
I
of
mean,
ads for Stadia.
you you never know how much Google's going to support Stadia, because they say things and then they just, like, you know,
Do another.
do another thing and just kind of close down the whole project.
They show a lot of AAA games in those ads. Like they show
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed Odyssey and they show Forza.
See, but the thing with Stadia is like you pay a subscription to have Stadia, right?
hmm
And then you have to pay for your games on top of that.
Ooh.
So you're not like, there's no like discount or something. It's not like a
Well, that's kind
subscription
of
where
that's
it's
kind
not
of
like,
like how it is with PS Plus in a way because if you have games like uploaded to the online storage and your PS Plus runs out, you can't get those save files because you don't have the PS Plus access to go into the online storage
yeah. But the thing is, I guess it's pretty much, it's very similar. But
in a
you know,
way
the thing with PlayStation is that you have the option, if you don't want to go
to
digital, you
opt
can
out.
buy all
Yeah,
your physical games, right?
and then you have like uh external hard drive
Yeah,
to you
and
have the external hard drive.
that too. And the big thing is, yeah, the external hard drive, so you could have all, you could just remove it, plug it in a UPS 4.
hmm
But the big thing is that you can trust Sony and Microsoft to keep
Definitely,
up with the system.
which they
Is it?
do a lot and they do very well.
Yeah, and the other thing is like Google is very untrustworthy with
Excuse me.
how they keep up with things, because they'll just cancel projects. Like whatever happened to Google Lens? You remember?
That was a thing.
That was
Oh
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah. Google Lens, Google Lens.
yeah. Yeah, and like their new tablet, the Google Slate, it came out like last year, and then they confirmed, yeah,
The
we're not
one
going to make
cool
another one.
thing, the one cool thing that ever came out of Google was the Google Cardboard, which was basically a cardboard box with VR,
Yeah, yeah,
like
that,
40
and
bucks.
yeah. So things like that. So can you trust Google if you're going to go pay them a premium for their service, and then on top of it, buy those games?
Yeah, if
And
you're
you know
gonna buy
what?
a premium subscription and if they don't deliver, then people are gonna want their money back and people are gonna be very, very, very upset.
Yeah, and then like, how do you access those games? Say Google is like, oh yeah, this project isn't working out. We're going to close Stadia. It's like,
And you already
do I
have all
get
your
those
games and your save
licenses for the
files.
games? Yeah, the save files, the licenses. I paid
Yeah, it's like,
60
do I get
bucks
all
for
the
the
stuff
games.
back?
Yeah, they're gonna say, "Oh,
That was my
sorry,
money.
you're out of luck." I don't know.
Yeah, that would not. That's not. That's
That's
not
the
very.
fear
That's
that
the
I
fear.
have, and I
Yeah.
think that most people have with cloud-based gaming. Like, there's nothing physical where you can say, "Okay, that's my console," or "These are my games," and stuff like that. It's just,
Hmm.
it's up in the air. It's all in the cloud. You know,
It's on the cloud.
it's all in the cloud.
Yeah, I just stare up and look at the clouds and say, "This is where my Assassin's Creed Odyssey save file is." I just don't know it yet.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, okay, this is where I spent 120 bucks on those games. Oh, this is where I
This is
spent
where it
60.
went.
Yeah, this is where it all went. Yeah.
Just look up, super confused.
Uh-huh. Okay. All right. And that's why they closed down the servers. Lost all that.
Got it.
Uh-huh.
Got it.
Gotcha. Thank you. Thank you for your
Thank you.
time.
Thank
Um,
you, Google.
thank you.
Thanks, Google.
But let's I honestly I don't know how to make this transition from this topic from 100 million consoles to, oh, we could say Sony. And in other Sony news, Spider-Man Far From Home hits $1 billion. That was a transition right there.
There we go.
Um, it's not very related to gaming,
Still,
but
but it's still entertainment nonetheless.
it's still entertainment. It's still fun. It's a game for your eyes. Um,
Gaming for your eyes, love it.
not for your hands, or your game for your eyes.
It's gaming for your eyes.
So Spider-Man
That's
Far From
awesome.
Home, I don't think anybody has talked about it. I feel like
Which is surprising.
it's just like it just happened. It's like, oh, Spider-Man Far From Home is out. Okay.
Yeah, because I think people still weren't over Avengers Endgame yet, and then Spider-Man Far From Home came out, and everyone's like, "Hold on, I still haven't coped yet."
Yeah. And Endgame's out on digital now, so you can watch it and cry again.
You either yeah, and plus, I think if you buy it on PlayStation, you get a super cool background. Could be wrong, but
Ooh.
they
I
do
mean, you
that with
probably
every movie, I believe.
definitely for Spider-Man Far From Home, since it's
You get a cool
Sony, you
background.
probably do get a really cool background. Because I think they gave you one for Spider-Man Homecoming.
Yeah,
But yeah, Spider-Man Far From Home hits $1 billion at the box office, the worldwide box office. So it makes it the first Spider-Man movie to do so. And it's just incredible.
which kind of surprises me because have you seen the Sam Raimi movies? How would they not hit up like 100 million? Like, you feel me?
I know that it's just, I'm surprised Spider-Man 3 was just like that dance number,
Yes.
and it just didn't get a
You
hundred
need my
billion.
ringtone?
Just rake it in with maybe they're gonna make a Spider-Man 4 now with Tobey Maguire and Sam Raimi. Um,
Yes, that'd be awesome.
just like the comeback kid.
And the
They
thing
should
that was kind of cool
factor.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll go. The thing that's kind of cool though is the it's kind of cool, but it's also kind of like risky. Is
Uh-huh.
Sony and Marvel how they kind of have that thing to kind of like share Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I remember reading somewhere, I believe it was IGN, where if Marvel didn't break the 1 billion contract, Sony would just yoink the Spider-Man title
I
back.
heard that. I saw that somewhere. Yeah. If Spider-Man Far From Home didn't make $1 billion at the box office, something like that,
Hmm. But at
then
that point, it was already at 970.6 million. So
yeah.
at that point, you kind of already know it's going to hit a billion.
Yeah. But like, why? I mean, Spider-Man has been the best that he's been, in terms of,
Yeah,
monetary and in terms of just like the overall, consistency and good storytelling.
he never stops crying though.
He never he never stops crying. No. Yeah, just generally. I mean, Tobey Maguire also had a very good cry face.
Yeah.
Andrew Garfield was
I
pretty
just want to
good.
give him a hug. Like, just bring them all in. Be like, come here, boys.
Come here,
You want me
boys.
some ice
You're
cream?
all right. I'll give you some ice cream. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, and you know what? That's a big part of the Spider-Man, like just storytelling. He is a kid. And
He is
you
a
see
kid.
that a lot in in the Spider-Man game.
Oh yeah,
that's exclusive to the PS4 is very, he's a little bit older there. He's in college, but
yeah.
it's a
He's in college,
cool,
and he's also been around the block a couple times, so he knows how to be Spider-Man.
yeah, yeah. And that's a huge aspect to Spider-Man and stuff like that. So the
Mhm.
consistency in the storytelling, making sure that he is Spider-Man. He's that kid from Queens who has a heart of gold and stuff like that, and wants to do what's right.
Wants to
And
save everyone.
he wants to save everyone, and that's what Marvel Studios has been telling with the rights to the character, and that's why he's so popular now with Tom Holland, and that's
Yeah.
why he
Plus,
hit a
also Tom
billion at the
Holland is
box
just a
office.
fantastic actor in general.
He is. He is a very, very good Spider-Man. And I could see him just going into the future, like, 10 years of Spider-Man, and then he gets to the point where, to now in the comics where Spider-Man has Peter Parker Industries and stuff like that.
Oh, that's so cool. I remember they did that a lot in the Spider-Man video games.
Yeah.
Like, I believe they did that for the Spider-Man game. I believe it was called Spider-Man Edge of Time, where it was the Peter Parker Spider-Man, and then it was the Spider-Man 2099, which was Miguel O'Hara,
Oh
and
yeah.
they kind of like Spider-Man, the Peter Parker Spider-Man dies in his realm. Spoilers, but the game's like 9 years old. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
He dies fighting Venom, or the anti Venom, which is basically just Venom, but he's white,
Yeah.
and he drains, and the whole purpose of anti Venom, for people who don't know, is he drains the powers of people with his tendrils. So he drains Spider Man completely of his powers, kills him, and then he goes back in time. The 2099 Spider Man goes back in time,
Hmm.
and when he does this to fix the universe, he actually turns the main bad guy into Peter Parker, because he made like a non-aging cream, and
Yeah.
then he made Parker Industries in 2099, and he actually becomes one of the main bad guys in the game,
Yeah.
which is super
It's
cool.
that's so cool. It's like cool stories that are yet to be told like that. With
Or
Spider-Man, he was
Spider-Man, I think they touched on this too in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, where it was Spider-Man, I believe it was Web of Shadows. No, it wasn't Web of Shadows. I think it was Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions, where it
yeah.
was the Peter Parker Spider-Man, Spider-Man Noir, Spider-Man 2099, and then the Venom suit Spider-Man,
Hmm.
or the symbiote Spider-Man.
And like that's, I mean, you see that like sort of expansion of the Spider-Man universe,
Hmm.
Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse now,
Which
like
is
in the
still
movies.
a really good movie
Yeah. And that's a cool balance that Sony has like just been
that they
pushing
maintain.
for a very long time, that now that they want
Hmm.
like in their movies. Sure, they have Venom. They had the Venom movie, but they're trying to
Which
expand the
honestly,
Spider-Verse.
which personally I thought was pretty good. I don't understand why the critics are giving it such a hard time. I genuinely like the movie.
That was a pretty good introduction to
I
Venom.
mean,
I
like,
think they just build off of that now
yeah,
for
if
the
they build
next
off
one.
of it, it's
If there is a
fantastic.
next one. Yeah.
Hmm.
And that's the thing that people fear is like it seems like Sony is building some sort of Spider-Man universe for when they take back Spider-Man. And you're like, wait, how can you take back Spider-Man? He's so
Hmm.
integral to the Marvel, the MCU now.
And plus, since fans kind of know that contract is probably still in effect, the next time a
Yeah.
Spider-Man based movie comes out, they'll do the same thing that they did, where it was kind of a meme, where Avengers Endgame and Avatar, like they wanted Endgame to surpass Avatar.
Yeah.
So they'll kind of probably do that kind of thing, where since they know that
Just like
if it won't
re-release
hit
it.
1 billion, yeah, they'll
Yeah.
if like the Spider-Man movie doesn't hit 1 billion, Sony's going to take the character back. And obviously, since Marvel's doing such an amazing job with the character, people are going to keep going to see the movie no matter what.
Yeah, exactly. And that's that. I mean, the Marvel fan base is just insane.
That's
You
true
know,
dedication.
true dedication. And now I don't know if you saw the announcements at Comic Con. Well, not now. It was like a week ago, a couple weeks
Hmm.
ago. But there's like a huge new slate for Phase 4 those 2 years. Did you see any of the movies that were released or announced?
I the one that's really interesting to me right now is the Doctor Strange horror movie. Right? What is it?
Yeah,
The Mystery of
that's
Madness,
super
I believe it's called.
cool. Yeah.
That sounds so cool.
What was it called? Let me see the name. Multiverse of Madness.
That sounds so cool, dude.
That sounds really cool. Another cool
And
is
it's like the MCU's first horror movie, and you're like, yes.
yeah, and you're like, how can you do horror? And I don't know if you saw the like the key the announcement and Kevin Feige, the CEO of or the
Hmm.
president of Marvel Studios, he's like, yes, it'll be PG-13. I'm like, how do you do
Like,
super
oh,
scary stuff with
and
PG-13?
PG-13. Yeah, kind of like
Yeah,
Paranormal Activity, but more cool and
it's just
less
like
dumb.
jump scares. I don't know.
That actually be kind of cool though, because think about it. If he's going into, like, what is it, the multiverse, then he see
Yeah,
like that opens up so many opportunities, because I
And
remember
people are
in Far
saying,
From Home they talked about it,
yeah, and people are saying that this could be um,
the introduction.
like the introduction to some like new sort of thing where it could be kind of like a civil war where it's kind of like a
Hmm.
Avengers light sort of deal where like
Hmm.
different Avengers come in, maybe in like the multiverse that they go in, Cap is still alive, or sorry, Iron Man's still alive, Cap is younger, stuff like that.
Hmm.
So it's a
Thor
cool
isn't fat.
thing. Yeah. Speaking of Thor, Thor Love and Thunder, that's a really
Oh
cool
yeah,
like
Jane Foster's gonna be the female Thor.
female Thor, yeah.
That's so cool.
Or what's it called? The Mighty Thor, Black Widow,
That's so cool.
Blade,
Yeah. Oh, Blade.
Loki.
Honestly, Blade sounds really cool because
Yeah.
they're using. I don't want to butcher the actor's name. I believe is
Mahershala Ali.
there. You go. It just sounds so cool because
Yeah.
Blade is actually a really cool character, and I think he's been with Spider-Man a couple times too. Like he's
Yeah.
fought alongside Spider-Man.
He's a cool character. Yeah. Like just
So
very
cool.
awesome. Sort of like I'm interested to see what they're gonna do with it.
I want them to do Marvel. I want them to do I don't know if like a lot of people might agree with me, but I want them to do a movie based on the character Moon Knight.
Oh,
Uh,
okay. Like
because
the Marvel
he's kind of like the
Batman.
Marvel Batman. Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
inverted colors.
Yeah, just inverted colors,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, because he's got like batarangs that are like that are crescent moons. Anyway, let's be on the point.
Yeah.
But it's
That's
still such a cool movie.
yeah. What do you think about now, like speaking of movies, uh not movies, like Marvel Studios, the Disney Plus series? Like, do you think they should be movies? Or like what's it called? The MCU should stick to movies?
I feel like the MCU probably should stick to movies only because it would be different if like they took Daredevil and Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist. It'd be
Hmm.
different if they just took them and put them into the MCU. Then I'd say, oh yeah, definitely stick with both. But since they kind of didn't integrate, well, they kind of tried by showing kind of like the Avengers Tower or something like that,
Yeah.
like in like their previews.
Hmm.
But since they haven't kind of like personally like since they haven't like infused it into the movie scene, I think they should just stick with movies.
Yeah.
Only because I haven't like seen like
Like
obviously you see what Marvel can do with like TV shows, but I want to see how they can infuse it.
exactly. Yeah, I think that's the big thing. Like how are you
How do
gonna
you work it in?
how do you work it in? How do you like work it in the people's schedules? Like,
Hmm.
sure you expect people to see like a few movies a year, but then like 8-hour series and stuff like that, paying for
Hmm.
Disney Plus. It's just
And
it
plus,
seems like a huge commitment.
I also heard that the next Avengers movie is going to be well, I think Kevin Feige might have said this could be wrong, but I remember seeing it where it's a complete like it's a mix of characters that we have and haven't seen before,
Yeah. I mean, for phase
which
4,
makes
there
me
wasn't
curious.
any Avengers movie announced.
Yeah, I feel like for Phase 4 they just want to keep it like they kind of want. I feel like they're doing like another build up because if they're not
Yeah.
doing any Avengers movies, then what? Like obviously we're Far From Home with with the end credit scene, which we're not going to spoil, and then whatever
Yeah.
Doctor Strange is doing or whatever
Yeah,
Black
exactly.
Widow is doing or what Black Panther's doing or what Loki's doing or even Blade. How is that all going to fit into like an Avengers movie,
Mhm.
or how's that gonna excuse me, or how's that going to fit into an Avengers movie, or how is this gonna lead into another thing?
Exactly.
Because
It's
it did take them what it took them three phases because it took
yeah.
all of the phases to set up into Civil War and Infinity War Endgame. You feel me?
Mhm. It does seem like they're kinda using this phase 4 2-year
It's
thing
like clean
as
up,
like a kind of like a realignment of like, "Oh, this is
like a
now this
damage
is like
control.
the." Yeah, and not like a damage control, but like just kinda like realigning what the MCU is gonna be like, or, kinda
Hmm.
rearranging, reorienting the idea of the MCU. So, like, you've
Hmm.
got your movies, you've got your TV series, you've got, like, a bunch of different angles on the superheroes, very,
Yeah.
like, deep cuts, like, into movies, stuff like that. So,
Hmm.
you got, like, going back and getting, like, very specific nitty-gritty about things. It seems
Oh yeah, definitely
interesting. I'm interested to see how they're gonna do it, like, how they're gonna
work
web
it in.
in work in, like, like, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, like, a 8-hour series, TV series into the movies and stuff. So,
And I was surprised they called it Falcon and the Winter Soldier. because after the end of Endgame, what happens? I'm surprised they call it Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah. Oh, like you're saying it should be Captain America and the Winter Soldier?
Well, I feel like if they were to use that, because I feel like they've used what is it? They've used that title before, Captain America and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, Captain America the Winter Soldier. I think that was
Oh, the
the
Winter
second
Soldier.
movie. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like they've already used that title. So I feel like if they use Captain America and the Winter Soldier, they'll probably think it's like a prequel or something.
Yeah, they
So
probably
just
will.
to just to like avoid confusion.
But like the new art for Falcon and the Winter Soldier has the Captain America shield on it, so I think that's going to be a big like part of it. It's going to be
Hmm.
Sam Wilson and Bucky
Yeah,
Barnes, like just kind of
and how the
dealing.
and like yeah, dealing with like the fact that Captain America is no longer in the picture,
Yeah, it's going to be
which is
interesting.
still very upset. It's very
Another big
upsetting.
thing, and just like to touch on it for just like a second here, the Eternals. I don't know if you saw any of that, but the
No, I
Eternals
don't think I
with
did.
oh, okay, it's like a huge cast. The Eternals are
Ooh,
basically like an immortal race, and um,
nice,
they're played by like Angelina Jolie's in the cast. I'm gonna
nice,
mispronounce the name, but Kumal Nanjiani.
awesome.
Okay,
That was a good
yeah,
pronunciation.
is that good?
Yeah, perfect.
Richard Madden. So
Ooh,
huge, really cool cast, very awesome, diverse cast that will play these really awesome,
hmm,
diverse set of characters.
ooh,
And I'm interested to see what that's going to be like and how they're going to interact. Like these Eternals, who are like superpower, awesome beings, how they're going to
super
interact with,
badass.
yeah, super badass beings. How are they going to interact with,
That's actually the
you know,
tagline of the next movie: "The Eternals hashtag super badass beings."
super badass beings.
I feel like
Exactly.
we need to write a quick email to Marvel saying, "Hey, I got your
Yeah,
second movie title."
I just we get some royalties at least.
Yeah, duh.
Yeah, so that's gonna be a cool sort of thing because they're still introducing new characters and Shang-Chi, another
Ooh,
cool Asian character, master of kung fu.
reminds me of Shang Tsung from Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, yeah. It's gonna be cool and interesting like little couple years here for 2020 and 2021.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see personally. The one that's like got me stuck is definitely the Doctor Strange one.
Yeah, that's really exciting just to
That's
see
got
where
me
it's gonna
stuck.
go. Because one,
Yeah,
Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange is just like yes, it's
Dreamcast.
Dreamcast. And I'm just ready to see is Mordo coming back from the first one, like to cause some
Yeah,
trouble?
yeah. Like
Is it all
what's
gonna
Doctor
be
Strange
like
gonna see in there?
yeah, yeah, what's gonna happen in the multiverse of madness? I think Wanda's
That
gonna be
sounds
in
so cool. Oh yeah, I've heard that too.
yeah, so Wanda's gonna be in it, what's going on there? It's gonna be an interesting thing, and I'm ready
I
for it.
believe there were theories that Wanda was going to be in it only because anytime someone sees the color red, like, oh my God, it's Scarlet Witch. But
Oh,
I remember there was like a thing where I think like someone made like a I think it was I don't know if it was like an official Marvel poster, if it was like fan art, but it showed like Doctor Strange, like obviously front and center of the poster. I think he was like going in to the quote unquote multiverse of madness, and there was like a
yeah.
red circle, so people assumed it was like Wanda or something.
Oh. I know something about like, they said Wanda's powers are like unstable magic or something like that. So maybe
Hmm.
there's gonna be like some sort of teaching aspect. Like, this
Ooh,
is how you use your powers,
yeah,
Wanda.
the master becomes the teacher, or the student becomes the master.
A student becomes a master sort of deal. I don't know. It's gonna be cool.
That'd be
It's
kind of
gonna be
nice.
cool bottom line. I
Yeah,
think we're
because then
really excited.
it puts characters together too. Like we kind of haven't like you kind of wouldn't expect. Like obviously Doctor
Yeah.
Strange and Wanda. Like I don't think people really expected for them to team up.
I know. It's gonna be cool. And like, you have a whole bunch of other series and stuff like that. But
Hmm.
in terms of the gaming thing, I just to kind of bring it back as we wrap up here, how do you factor like I feel like you could make such a cool gaming universe, like a series of games with like the
Hmm.
content in these movies. If you just follow sure you could follow the comic books too, which are like the big you get a lot of your inspiration like from like Spider-Man, the PS4 game.
Hmm.
But like why aren't there more like games for these movies? It seems like, kind of like, you know, an
I feel
easy
like people are
cash grab sort of
people.
deal.
I feel like people are scared to make them only because, obviously when the Wii was more popular, and with 360 like last gen with the Wii 360 PS3, there were movie games like
Yeah.
like the Incredible Hulk, obviously based on the same movie, which wasn't that good.
Yeah.
Iron Man, I believe it was Iron Man 2. They made Iron Man
Yeah.
1 and 2 on the Wii,
Yeah.
which obviously failed. Captain America: The Winter Soldier, which kind of had like
I think that's the
Batman
issue.
Arkham style combat. but it wasn't that good. You only use two buttons, and that was like to attack and block.
Yeah. I
So
think the
like
issue
people
is,
are
like
just
I
afraid
said,
of how to do
it's
it.
like cash grabby games.
Hmm.
But like if it's good, like a good sort of game like
Hmm.
Spider-Man, or I mean
Or
now
Batman,
the or Batman.
because I know for
Like
Batman Arkham Knight they used three different. I believe they used three different comic stories to and they put it into one.
yeah, to create the game,
Hmm.
the storyline of the game, yeah. I don't know. It seems like it's like I see, you see now with Square Enix and the Avengers game.
Hmm.
It's not gonna take a lot of the stuff from the movies because not even Hawkeye. Hawkeye's not in it and stuff like that. So
It
it's
might
gonna
be
take its own
DLC.
little maybe he'll be in the multiplayer that they announced.
Hmm. I feel like though personally the heroes who everyone loves, and then some one thing happens, and all of a sudden they're villains. I
Yeah.
feel like that's a little played out.
Yeah.
Like you see, like because a lot of like obviously a lot of TV shows have used it.
Uh-huh.
A lot of movies have used it. Batman's used it once in like an animated series,
Yeah.
and Spider Man's done it I think once. But I
Yeah.
feel like it's kind of too played out. It's kind of like because it's gonna happen by the end of the game.
Exactly.
Everyone's gonna be all buddy buddy again, like
Mhm.
or like Captain America Civil War, where it was like half Captain America's
Yeah.
team was considered like vigilantes, and then
That's
by
true,
like
yeah.
in
And then
Infinity
they're, like,
War or
back
like
together in
Endgame,
Infinity
yeah,
War.
yeah, or like excuse me, or like Justice League, how like they fought and like,
Mhm.
oh, I don't like you, you don't like me, blah 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 blah. They fight, and then by the end, anyway,
Yeah, and now,
or like
like, for,
Batman v Superman.
now, spoiler alert, the ending of the after credit scene of Spider-Man where Spider-Man's the bad guy, Spider-Man fr
Yeah, where Mysterio's
uh,
like, oh, he killed me, haha.
yeah, he killed me, oh my god, he's the evil guy, stuff
He's
like
the
that.
evil guy.
Yeah,
Here's his identity.
that's true. It might be, like, a very, like, played out sort of story. We'll see how the story I hope
Hmm.
it's good because then
Yeah, I hope it's good too, because even though like you kind of know the ending, like the Avengers are gonna be on top again, you kind of
yeah.
want to see how they get there.
Yeah, and if it's a cool, like, game mechanics as you're playing the story, you could switch between characters very freely, stuff like that, we'll see.
Hmm.
I hope it's really cool and
Definitely.
it'll sprout, like, some more games, like, individual style games where, like, "Oh, we have a Doctor Strange game, and
Hmm.
Doctor Strange is gonna come
Ooh,
in
Doctor Strange
Avengers
would be
too."
awesome. That'd
I
be an
know,
awesome
right?
game.
Like, you have to master different spells and stuff like that.
That's awesome. It's like Harry Potter, but like next gen.
Yeah, Harry Potter Next Gen, and it's like fighting,
That's gonna be my review on the box. It's like Harry Potter, but next gen.
Harry Potter for
Peter.
Next Gen, that's gonna be the official, Game Chat review.
Yeah. Yeah, the official game chat review.
4
Like
out of
Harry
5
Potter.
Poppy Peppers.
Yeah,
Harry
4 out of 5
Potter
Poppy
for
Peppers.
Next Gen.
That's it. That's it. That's our review. Now we just
That's
gotta wait for the
perfect.
game.
And we're waiting for the game, and
I'm waiting for the game to come out.
we'll see. We'll see. It's gonna be awesome. We're waiting.
Can't
A
wait.
lot of cool stuff is coming. We've reviewed between the
It's
Switch
like Game
Lite,
of Thrones. When people say winter is
Doom.
coming, gaming is coming.
Gaming is always coming, guys. So thank you for
Stay on your
listening to
toes.
this. Yeah, stay on your toes and keep listening to Game Chat. Keep listening to the logs. You want to say a little bit of a goodbye here?
Thanks again, Bobby Booth, for having me, and I love all of you.
Thank you so much for being here and having this awesome little couch co-op session.
For
It
the
was
very
really
first
fun.
of many.
The very first of very many. It's going to be awesome. The logs is always expanding
Hmm.
with our content. Game Chat is always ready to expand and find, just try new things because that's life. That's the spice of life. Try new things.
You want to help me move this couch now?
Yeah, yeah. We're gonna go and move the couch now. So
We're gonna
thank you
go
guys
and
for
sort
listening.
out this 5,500 mile couch.
Yeah, exactly. So it's going to take a little bit of time. The next episode of Game Chat is going to frankly be delayed, I guess. So what can you do? But thank you guys for listening to Game Chat episode 3. And we hope to see you everywhere on the logs. Keep listening to the logs. Keep listening to Game Chat. Have an awesome rest of your day. And keep laughing. Keep on laughing.
Bye.
And that's Game Chat signing off. Game Chat is a podcast series from the log, so if you enjoyed, please like, please follow, and please subscribe anywhere you find podcasts. Go and visit our merch store, live now with a bunch of designs and styles. Listen on YouTube if you'd like a transcription of the episode. And always, always remember to laugh a little.